Hello, it's Reija and welcome to another video. Today I am going to be doing a monthly book recs video. Monthly book recs is a Goodreads group created by Lia Cooper. I will leave her channel down in the description as well as a link to the Goodreads group. And it is basically a group all about recommending books based on different prompts each month. And September's theme is catch-up, which is basically an opportunity for us group members to take a topic that we couldn't do previously and run with it. And I chose to do Resistance Rex because of everything happening around the world right now. It is important to have tools in our disposal, whether that be fiction, non-fiction, etc., that will ground us in reality and give us tools to understand the systems that we are living in, and also to point out flaws in them and fight for those flaws to be corrected. So without further ado, I will go over my recs for Resistance reads. Let's get started. So today I am going to be recommending 9 books, 3 non-fiction, 3 fiction books, and then 3 graphic novel series. And I'm starting with non-fiction. First, I want to recommend Beyond Trans Does Gender Matter by Heath, Fogg, David. And this book goes through various ways in which our society is gender segregated. It looks at public transport, it looks at bathrooms, it looks at sports, and it goes over each of these topics, looks at the history of why these have become segregated, how these have been used as political tools to further polarize and further divide people. And it also offers suggestions about how we could fix the gender segregation and maybe look at making a more equal world where it looks at things in a way like, does gender really matter in society in these areas? And I found that it is really interesting, and it is very academic, I will say that. It is sometimes quite heavy to read, but at the same time I also feel like whether you are like an activist looking to, for example, support transgender people, or whether you are someone who is firmly opposed to any notion of dismantling gender segregation, I think this is an important book to read because it kind of reframes the questions and it gives you ideas and new ways of thinking. And sometimes it is maybe good to step outside the box and question why you are thinking a certain way. So I think this is a very good book to kind of maybe decenter yourself and look at things from another point of view. And yeah, I highly recommend this book. Next book I want to recommend is All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a YA non-fiction memoir, and George M. Johnson details the story of their life from the time they were born up until after they graduated from college. And this looks at the intersections of being queer, being black, and kind of living as a gender non-conforming person. So I just think that this is very interesting. It looks at it kind of gives you a hard look at the ways in which we erase parts of people's identity. For example, this idea that LGBT plus community, it tends to erase people of color and black people and centers around white narratives, even when at the same time benefiting from black culture. And the same can be said about the black community in George M. Johnson's point of view, that then that community tends to erase the queerness. So how can you live in live your full life in that intersection where you are constantly being made to choose one or the other? And I think this is an excellent book, gives a lot of food for thought, and maybe once again makes you step outside of your own bubble and outside of your own box and maybe look at the world in a different way. And it offers you tools with which to empathize with other people. So yeah, I would highly recommend this. And the final non-fiction book that I want to recommend is The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. And specifically, I want to recommend this as a resistance narrative and a resistance recommendation, because we as a society tend to fall into this trap where we find reasons to discredit victims of abuse, assault, and battery, and homicide. The popular narrative around Jack the Ripper's victims is that they were prostitutes and sex workers. And this book dismantles that idea and that narrative using public historical extant records from the time, and reconstructs the lives of these women. And the way it does it is that it refuses to give a platform for Jack the Ripper himself. Like, it really focuses on the lives of these women and shows them as complex individuals who are who can't be reduced to a single point in a narrative and a single caricature. And I feel like we as a community, as a society, as people should resist this idea of a knee-jerk reaction, like this idea that, well, she deserved it or he deserved it, or this idea that we are quick to demonize and find fault in the victims, and despite the fact that no matter what kind of people they were, they didn't deserve to die. And we kind of start to sympathize and empathize with the killer, the perpetrator. So that's why I want to recommend this book, especially with what's happening on in the world right now. Then I want to recommend some fiction books, and first I want to recommend The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. I will preface this by saying that I wasn't the biggest fan of this book. I thought it was okay, and there were some things that I thoroughly disliked too, but at the same time I feel like this is still a very important book that is all about feminism and gender equality and fighting for your place in the world and fighting for what's yours and what you dream of. And I think it is a very inspiring narrative, and I feel like many people will resonate with it and many people will find inspiration maybe to fight for their own dreams through this book. I really think that this is one of those stories that makes you read it and look at it and be like, yeah, I wanna do stuff too, and I wanna be like that too. And it's about these women who want to become astronauts, especially now that the Earth is basically facing an extinction event and humanity needs to get into space and colonize planets and colonize the moon and such, and you need women for the colonization effort, and especially because these women also do the mathematics and calculations in order to get spacecraft into space. So yeah, it's a very interesting story and I definitely recommend it. Next, I would recommend Ancillary Justice by Leckie. This is another book that makes you think about the importance or lack thereof of gender and whether we should be so focused in our lives on what gender means and and especially in like society. It's about totalitarianism, imperialism. It's about resistance and a rebellion. So I think that it is an excellent look at kind of the underdog fighting to overthrow an expansive space conquering empire from within. And yeah, I highly recommend this. This does some very interesting things with language and the way it uses feminine pronouns for every single character. So it kind of flips the switch with regards to universal pronoun use and such. So I highly recommend it. Then I would recommend Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig. This is about an indigenous Canadian tribe facing an apocalyptic event, and it's about society deconstructing itself, and it's about these people trying to maintain their traditions and trying to maintain independence and agency, and it is about this sort of small ways of resistance and just living the way you want is an act of resistance in itself. And yeah, I love this book. I have been talking about it in a past wrap-up, and yeah, it is short, it packs a punch, and it is sort of slow and intimate, but I just feel like it really hits you in the heart in a sense with the way how personal it gets. Then I want to recommend some comics. First up is 20th Century Boys by Naoki Urasawa, and this is a manga series that very specifically is about resistance and rebellion. It is about a dystopian society where totalitarian regime has taken over Japan and basically also taken over parts of the world. The world as we know it has shattered. And it is about this small group of friends resisting this regime, and also it is about free speech and criticizing the government, and it is about xenophobia. Highly recommend this. This is approximately 20 volume series or so, but it is finished, it is complete, and it is very high octane, very well told. Naoki Urasawa is a master of storytelling, and I highly recommend this series. Then I want to recommend Princess Jellyfish by Akiko Higashimura, and this is about resisting, in a way, a resistance as a personal effort, a grassroots effort, and this idea that even small things and even a personal thing such as fighting for your home and fighting for your way of life and your right to exist as you are, and fighting against gender norms and fighting against conforming to society's expectations are forms of resistance as well. And yeah, this is such a fun series that examines ways of being a human, a woman. It's about like gender non-conformity, living as a full member of society and all that. And yeah, this is about this girl called Tsukimi who meets this person, Kuranosuke, and they strike up this sort of interesting friendship that takes them through a whirlwind ride of fashion and fighting for the right of this group of women, this group of nerds, to continue living in their boarding house, which is threatened with demolition. And this series is also complete. It is about 9 or 10 volumes, and yeah, highly recommend it. And the final comic book series that I want to recommend is the March trilogy by John Lewis and Andrew Aydin and Nate Powell. And this is John Lewis's memoir about his life and specifically his work in the civil rights movement. And this is about hope, and it is a very tough look at what the history of the civil rights movement is, and how various events happened, and also this idea that if we don't know our history, or if you don't know your history, and if you like take things for granted, then those things can happen again. So I think this is a very important read if you are not familiar with the civil rights movement, or you want to learn more about the American history during this time, and especially with what is going on in the world right now, it is especially important to learn about this history and know this history, because it directly plays into the undercurrents of what is happening today. So yeah, I would recommend this very highly. And there you have it. Those are all of the books that I would recommend as good resistance recommendations, good resistance books. Whether you want to have a toolkit about ways in which you can resist certain things and be more active in your political and social life, or just whether you want to just read fiction books about resistance narratives, these are some books for you. And yeah, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you got this far in the video, please leave me an emoji down in the comments that sparks the idea of resistance in you. And I will see you again in another video very soon. Bye bye!